Every year, tens of thousands of Pakistanis sit down to take the same exam. Only a tiny handful will pass. In 2025, fewer than 3 in 100 did. The ones who make it will run districts and sit in ministries. For many families, it is the surest ladder up. Here is the part the guidebooks leave out. That exam, the Central Superior Services Exam, the CSS, is older than Pakistan itself. It was not designed by a free Pakistan to find its best servants. It was designed in London to staff the machine that ruled the whole subcontinent. The ladder was built by the landlord. And Pakistan was not the only heir who kept it. This is the story of the steel frame's other half. To understand the exam, you have to go back before Pakistan existed. In the 1850s, the British opened the Indian civil service to competition. A committee led by Thomas Babington Macaulay designed the test, and over the next century, that service became the thin layer of officers who ran the entire subcontinent. The British called it the steel frame. Then, in 1947, the frame was cut in two. Of roughly 980 serving officers, only about 100 were Muslim, and around 80 of them chose Pakistan. So a nation of tens of millions began life with a few dozen trained administrators and handed them enormous power. They became the core of a new service, the Civil Service of Pakistan, the direct heir of the imperial one. India kept the frame and called it the IAS. Pakistan kept the frame and called it the CSP. And here is the detail that undoes the easy story. Pakistan did not copy India. Both inherited the same machine from the same empire, and both, on their own, chose to keep it. To see why, look at the country these officers now served. Pakistan was a brand new country, improvised in a single summer, with a weak parliament and a founding generation that had spent its life in opposition, not administration. But the bureaucracy it inherited was old, disciplined, and sure of itself. It had been running things for 100 years, so the machine ended up stronger than the state it was meant to serve. In 1972, the scholar Hamza Alavi gave it a name. He called it the overdeveloped state, an apparatus of control the colony had built that was simply too big for the young society underneath it. Another scholar, Khalid bin Saeed, described what Pakistan had actually kept, not a democracy with a civil service, but the viceroy system with the viceroy removed, a strong bureaucracy over elected institutions that stayed weak. The officers of the civil service of Pakistan ran the districts, filled the ministries, and steered the economy. Critics had a sharp name for them. They called them Brown Sahibs, after Macaulay's old dream of brown Englishmen, men who stepped into the shoes of the British rulers without changing the shoes. Under Ayub Khan, in the 1960s, it reached its peak. This is what people mean when they say Pakistan held the frame even tighter than India did. The first quarter century of Pakistan's life, this arrangement mostly held. Then it met a politician who set out to break it. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto took power in the early 1970s, and he saw the civil service of Pakistan for what it had become, an unelected elite that outlasted every government and answered to no voter. So in 1973, he moved against it directly. His administrative reforms abolished the elite class outright. The old service names were scrapped, the separate cadres dissolved into common groups. The constitutional protections that had made senior officers almost impossible to fire were removed, and around 1,300 of them were purged. On paper, it was the most serious attempt anywhere to tear the steel frame out. And it did not hold. Within a few years, the elite cadre had reassembled under a new name, the District Management Group, later renamed once more the Pakistan Administrative Service. The frame had bent, and then it set again, in the same shape. It turns out you can rename the empire's exam. Dismantling it is a great deal harder. So step back and look at the whole picture. Two countries were born from the same partition, designed to define themselves against each other. And on this one question, without consulting each other, they gave the same answer. Both kept the exam the empire had built to rule them. Pakistan simply kept it closer to the center. Now, here's the honest part. That decision was not only about power. Pakistan was born in an emergency. The treasury was nearly empty. The government had almost no files or furniture, and millions of refugees were crossing the border. In that chaos, the handful of officers who had chosen Pakistan kept the state standing. They gave a country improvised overnight a spine that already worked. That is a real argument. It is the same one Sardar Patel made in India, made here under even harder conditions. So this is not a story about a villain. It is a story about a tool and the decision to keep it. Audit the institution, not the people who pass it. When you hear this exam called the Great Equalizer, the test that takes the best and rewards only merit, hold both facts at once. It is a real ladder, and it was forged as an instrument of control. The people who climb it now serve Pakistan. The frame they step into was built to rule the subcontinent it came from. That is not a scandal, it is just the receipt, and it is worth reading before you file it away. This has been Tareekh ka Hisaab, History Audited. If this changed how you see the exam, subscribe, and we will keep auditing the things everyone else just tells you to memorize.